There's a kind of comedy you just never forget, the kind that's not afraid to be completely ridiculous. You watch it and think, how the hell did this even get on TV? Shows like South Park and Family Guy, the kind of cartoons that throw logic out the window just to make you laugh. But what if someone had the insane idea of mixing all that with heavy metal, with a band that literally destroys everything in its path? That's exactly what Metalocalypse does. Basically, it's about 5 guys who are so good at playing metal that their music can actually kill people. Like, they shred so hard they cause disasters with their guitars and leave a trail of destruction wherever they go. And somehow, it's hilarious. The show doesn't care about being polite or making sense. It just wants to be brutal, chaotic, and pure metal. It's got real dark humor, actual heavy tracks, and a plot that only gets more insane as it goes. Think South Park, but with everything cranked up to 11. If I had to sum up Metalocalypse in one sentence, it'd be, the more absurd it gets, the funnier it becomes. So today on the channel, Metalocalypse, the series that proves metal and comedy go together way too well. We enter a kitchen straight out of a nightmare. A scrawny chef is praying desperately, clearly terrified of his employers. Moments later, he's serving dinner to Dethklok, the most brutal band on the planet. As they eat, the band starts reminiscing about the last chef, whose face was crushed beyond recognition. This somehow spirals into a bizarre argument over the word Holberkrau. Which no one can pronounce properly. The new chef, Jean-Pierre, is visibly horrified by the story. Turns out, the band has been hired to write a coffee jingle, and the launch concert, it's taking place in the Arctic Circle, for one song. Fans line up to sign pain waivers, legal documents basically saying that if they die, it's not the band's fault. Nathan Explosion, the lead singer, declares that they're going to make coffee metal. The stage, a massive steel cube that drops from a helicopter, crushing part of the crowd on impact. The survivors, they love it. Then the show begins. The Duncan Hills coffee jingle, heavier than a sledgehammer.
Your coffee from the hills of Colombia.
At the finale, a giant cauldron dumps scalding coffee onto the crowd, melting faces left and right. Meanwhile, Jean-Pierre explodes aboard the helicopter. Elsewhere, a shadowy secret council is analyzing the situation. Dethklok has unintentionally obliterated all competing coffee brands, turning Duncan Hills into a global monopoly. They present each band member, warning that these guys are a dangerously powerful cultural force. Back at their base, the band is chilling, until the bassist suddenly complains that he's hungry. It's only then that they realize the chef is dead.
See, I told you guys, we don't need no chef.
Put in the ingredients into that thing there.
Oh no, we leave all the food at the food place.
Panic ensues, until they discover the existence of a magical place called the Food Library, also known as the supermarket. In the second episode, Dethklok, the biggest metal band on the planet, has a problem. Frontman Nathan Explosion isn't satisfied with the new album and deletes everything. And it's not the first time. The band has already blown through $500 million recording 16 albums, all of them scrapped. The indecision is causing mass fan suicides and crashing the stock market, but Nathan couldn't care less. For him, the sound just isn't brutal enough. The solution? To re-record everything in the most extreme place on Earth, the Marianas Trench.
We're gonna re-record it. Right there. Right there.
Meanwhile, a secret organization resembling the Illuminati, known as the Tribunal, decides the band is a threat. To keep an eye on them, they resolve to send a music producer inside the band's nuclear submarine. The chosen operative is Dick Nubler, a lunatic with a bizarre criminal record that includes disfiguring a colleague with acid. At the bottom of the sea, the recording session is chaos. The guitar pickups are capturing the sound of communicating whales. To solve the problem, they isolate guitarist Toki in a liquid oxygen chamber. However, instead of giving him the safety instructions, the other guitarist, Squisgar, distracts him with a food order and ejects the chamber into the ocean. Alone, Toki hallucinates and composes a happy song about his new fish friends, the complete opposite of what the band wanted. When producer Nubler finally arrives, he listens to the material. Nathan plays a track about murdering mermaids, but Nubler becomes fixated on Toki's song. He sees a completely untapped billion-dollar market and takes off in his mini sub, now a total convert. bleeding from his eyes due to the pressure. He informs his bosses that Dethklok is brilliant. However, on his way back, a giant radioactive seahorse attacks and destroys his submarine. In the end, the album Deathwater is an absurd success, and the producer survives, blind but now equipped with new robotic eyes. Dethklok's show in Munich is raging. Bassist William Murderface is announced, and the first thing he does is moon the crowd. A fan gets on stage and tries to grab his bass. Murderface doesn't think twice and headbutts the guy, knocking him out cold. Back at Mordhaus, the band is chilling out when Pickles reads in the paper that the fan was actually a Danish prince. The guy suffered a concussion and a fractured skull, and to top it all off, he was the last in line to the throne. The band, of course, thinks this is awesome. In the middle of their conversation, Toki discovers an online invitation to Murderface's birthday party. Nobody understands why, since the guy is a nihilist who hates everything and everyone, but the invitation is real, and Nathan decides they need to get him a totally metal gift.
Oh, me. We're gonna have to get him a gift.
Meanwhile, Murderface's birthday causes chaos worldwide. Fans set Paris on fire after he calls the Louvre garbage. And a sniper in Chicago goes on a shooting spree in his honor. The birthday party takes place, a grim, black tie affair. The guests include the Queen of Denmark and her son, the very prince he headbutted. The birthday cake has mercury frosting, and the chef warns it's lethal. The Queen pays no mind, eats a slice, and melts in front of everyone. After a private Dethklok show, it's time for the gift. They present Murderface with a black box that, when opened, reveals absolutely nothing. Murderface is moved. He says it's the perfect gift. Disappointment. He then announces he's quitting the band to start his side project, Planet Piss. As he's walking out, the rest of the band makes a surprise appearance, dressed as US Marines, and reveals the real gift, the very limousine John F. Kennedy was assassinated in. And that's not all. They've signed him up for a demolition derby, so he can destroy a piece of American history. Murderface is ecstatic. He jumps into the car and floors it into the arena, ready for the carnage. Sometime later, Dethklok is in Finland to apologize for nearly destroying the country the last time they were there. Right off the bat, their manager shows up with a new product, the Death Phone, a dangerously spiky cell phone the band agreed to endorse while they were blackout drunk. Nathan, the frontman, is pissed and says it's the manager's job to stop the band from having stupid ideas. The manager replies that he tried, but he was threatened with death by all of them. When it's time to make the speech, Nathan freezes. He just can't read the apology. After several failed attempts, he gives up and passes the buck.
Yeah, wait, hold on. You know what? I pass.
The other band members also fail miserably until they come to the conclusion that they aren't good with words, but with music, so they decide to play a song for the Finnish people as an apology. The problem is, the song they choose is a spell from an ancient book, kind of like the Finnish Necronomicon. The lyrics end up summoning Mustakrakish, a giant troll that was dormant at the bottom of the lake. The monster rises from the water and starts destroying everything, sending the audience into a total panic. While Finland descends into chaos, the band is totally cool with it, thinking it's awesome to have a troll for a friend. But their manager warns them that the destruction is hurting their record sales. The band gets depressed and heads to a bar, but no one will serve them. An old man tells them the only way to fix the situation is to play a song to lull the troll back to sleep. Since the troll destroyed all the electricity, they have to use acoustic instruments, or as they call them, Grandpa's guitars. The band thinks the idea is totally lame and not metal at all, but they eventually agree. They go out on the lake in a boat and start playing a lullaby. The troll even starts to get sleepy, but halfway through the song, it gets pissed off, eats the old man, and tosses the band into the water. On another day, Dethklok is in court because a lawyer claims that the lyrics of their new album, which told people to go live underwater, caused his clients to nearly drown. True to form, the band doesn't give a damn and tells the lawyer to screw off, but the band's lawyer simply points out that the CD had a warning, for fish only. Case closed. Free from legal trouble, the group needs to think about their next album and how to top the previous one, which made 1 million people accidentally kill themselves.
About the next album.
Oh, right. You mean how are we supposed to tap an album that made 1 million people accidentally kill themselves?
Exactly.
Oh.
After buying the skull of a dead comedian at an auction, totally normal, they have an epiphany. What's the opposite of tragedy? Comedy. Dethklok's new mission is to be funny. Their first attempt is a disaster. The band goes to a comedy club and its members take the stage. Squisgar and Toki try a sketch about hating each other, but it's not funny. Nathan tries prop comedy, showing off his parasitic twin brother in the style of Quado from Total Recall and a body bag, but he only manages to make an old woman vomit. Pickles freezes with stage fright and gives up on comedy forever. Demoralized, they head to a bar to drown their sorrows. That is, until an old sea captain appears out of nowhere and reveals the secret. Comedy isn't about humor, it's about hate.
Comedy is about expressing your hate. The more hate you have, the funnier those rusty dildos sitting at them tables will think you are.
First, you hate yourself, then you hate the audience. This changes everything. The lesson works. Murderface throws a bucket of fake feces at the crowd and they go wild. They create a show of pure verbal and physical abuse that becomes a smash hit. Even Pickles comes back, now filled with hatred for the audience and ready to kill it. Seeing his mission through, the captain crosses over to another plane. Their show is finally brutal. In episode 6, Dethklok is on a talk show, but the psychopathic bassist, William Murderface, threatens the host with a knife and just pisses in his shoe. The mood gets even weirder when the host reveals the big surprise. The guys' families, whom they hate, are there, and they totally panic.
You're gonna pay for this.
Pay for what? Journalistic integrity?
Murderface's grandmother resolves the situation by running the host over with her scooter, electrocuting him in a very graphic way. Nathan, ever the visionary, already has a song title in mind, Electrocuted. Meanwhile, a secret council analyzes each member's family. Pickles' parents have an ex-con's son, Nathan's look like lumberjacks. Squisgar's mom is a former Miss Sweden. Murderface's grandparents are bizarre, and Toki's parents are terrifying Norwegian religious zealots. Back at their base, the band is depressed. The solution? Take everyone out to dinner and then kick them to the curb. The dinner is a disaster. Nathan's mom tells a bizarre and racist story. Pickles' ex-con brother wants to be his manager, and Murderface's grandmother beats him with a spoon for not wanting to buy his grandfather a new wheelchair. In the bathroom, they come to a conclusion. Lie. They'll pretend they care, buy the gifts, and then send them all away forever. The plan turns into a roller coaster of torture. They take their parents shopping, to the movies, and even to play mini-golf, all with faces like they're at a funeral. But Pickles' brother won't give up on his business idea and reveals his grand plan, a death metal album featuring the Dethklok family. That's the last straw. Pickles lunges at his brother, but their parents intervene.
Once it is not about their money. I don't want my parents doing a metal album.
Take this away from them.
Not to help, but to lecture them on how raising kids is the most brutal thing in the world. Murderface's grandmother pulls out pepper spray and attacks the band. The episode ends with the revelation that the parents' brutality surpasses the band's own, leaving the guys in shock. During the credits, Murderface's grandfather, now in his new wheelchair, has a single message on the screen.
Kill. Please. Please. Kill me. Please kill me. I have not had.
On another day, Dethklok is playing an insane show in Jordan, but things really heat up when the members themselves start brawling on stage. The result? A citywide riot and a $16.7 million lawsuit against the band. Back at their base, bruised and broken, their manager has a brilliant idea: band therapy. Meanwhile, an Illuminati-style cult decides this is the perfect chance to destroy Dethklok from the inside. Their secret weapon? The world's most extreme therapist, a lunatic named Dr. Jonathan Twinkletitz, who lost his mind after his own band broke up. Dr. Twinkletitz arrives with a "let's talk about our feelings" pitch, but in reality, he's there to add more fuel to the fire. He reverses their roles, makes the rhythm guitarist the new lead singer, and starts handing out banana stickers as if the band were in kindergarten. The plan works. Soon, the bassist is throwing a tantrum for not getting a sticker. And the therapist manages to pull a bizarre childhood story out of him involving his parents, a chainsaw, and a very unhappy ending. Things get so out of control that Dr. Twinkletitz declares himself the newest member of Dethklok and makes everyone wear pastel-colored outfits. That's when it clicks. The frontman realizes they can just fire the guy.
We gotta fire him.
Wait, we can do that?
Yeah, I just found out we can fire anybody we employ.
Can we fire ourselves?
Yeah, no, I've
The only problem is they'll be out of stickers, but they solve that by buying a chest full of banana stickers, rendering the doctor's reward system useless. After being fired, the therapist is thrown out a window, survives a fall onto spikes, but ends up as Wolf Chow. The band watches it all unfold, philosophizing about the circle of life and, of course, getting hungry from the sight.
Wolves eat him.
Yes, Toki. And his body will nourish the wolves.
I believe the cycle of learning is complete.
In episode 8, we learn the backstory of Pickles, Dethklok's drummer. Before extreme metal, he was the frontman of a glam metal band called Snakes and Barrels, which looks like a mix of Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue. The group was a huge success, but the party ended when drugs entered the picture. Pickles, already tired of that sound, wanted something heavier, and the rest is history. The rest of Dethklok watches a documentary about the band and, of course, makes fun of their friend's old look. He gets pissed and turns off the TV, insisting that phase of his life is over. But the manager has other plans. The documentary's popularity has caused sales of the old albums to skyrocket, and now the world wants a reunion tour. Meanwhile, a secret organization sees this as the perfect opportunity to split Dethklok up. They discover that the other members of Snakes and Barrels were heavy addicts, but are now sober. The plan is to make the guys relapse with a new drug called Totally Awesome Sweet Alabama Liquid Snake,
called Totally Awesome Sweet Alabama Liquid Snake,
which erases the user's memory. The main target, of course, is Pickles. Pickles reunites with his old band, and the result is a disaster. Rehearsal is a mess, with a drummer who doesn't know where to sit, a bassist with his amp turned off, and a guitarist who invented a guitar belt. On the day of the show, Dethklok shows up to wish him luck, acting super weird and needy, afraid of losing their friend. Shortly after, a mad scientist offers the band the drug, and they can't resist. It turns out Pickles is the only one immune, but the rest of the band completely loses it during the show, seeing demons, snakes, and flying babies. The concert becomes a sick legend, and the album recorded that night is considered the most brutal of all time. In the end, Dethklok, impressed, congratulates Pickles, with no clue what actually happened. Pickles, Dethklok's drummer, wakes up hungover with a crowd of fans in his room. It's fan day, and he hates it with every fiber of his being. A news report explains the situation. The band is opening their fortress, Mordhouse, to their fans. The result is global chaos, with people draining their bank accounts to buy tickets. Meanwhile, a secret council, like the Metal Illuminati, is watching everything. They monitor fan sites, especially one created by the Jomfru brothers, two nerds who dropped out of Harvard to dedicate their lives to the band. Fans arrive at Mordhouse and are greeted by a welcome video from the band's mascot, a skull named Facebones. The rules are simple: no photos, no recording, and if you disobey, a sniper will take you out from over 2.5 miles away. Brutal. Meanwhile, the band is at breakfast, suffering from a massive hangover. It gets so gross that they start a chain reaction of vomiting, one after another. The frontman, Nathan, even throws up blood. Toki, the only one who's fine, thinks Blood Vomit would be a great song title. The tour begins, showing the band members in their natural habitats. Squisgar playing guitar naked after a night with a fan, Toki getting his hand glued to a wall while building a model airplane, and Nathan undergoing a live liver transplant. The cherry on top is a video with a secret song, just for the fans.
We hate you, you brainless mutants.
But the Jomfru brothers recorded everything. They blackmail the band, either pay for a good review on their site, or the song leaks online. The band manager pretends he's going to pay and leads the brothers to a vault. He locks them in a hallway and tells them to run in a zigzag pattern. Why? Because the snipers from the welcome video weren't a joke. In the end, the band watches a flaming blimp crash outside, completely indifferent to it all. Nathan simply grabs a cup of coffee and moves on with his life. In episode 10, Dethklok goes to an island that serves as a nuclear waste dump. The residents there are all mutants, like the guys from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre after a vacation in Chernobyl. The band declares the island is now a home for stray cats and unleashes a horde of felines that proceeds to devour everyone. The reason? The band is making so much money they need to do charity work to avoid getting screwed on their taxes. But their charity is a bit strange. For starters, they adopted a chubby kid the government is monitoring, thinking it counts as a donation. But when it's time for a serious meeting to discuss their finances, consequences. The band is more interested in playing with a laser pointer and making their own noses bleed than paying attention. The problem is, their adopted son is a little pest. He won't sit still, breaks everything, and disrupts their rehearsals. The band's brilliant solution? Take the kid to a vet to be neutered, just like a dog. The doctor suggests it might just be the junk food diet they're feeding him, but the band insists. The result is that, at their big charity event with the London Philharmonic Orchestra, the kid presses a button on a laser sphere and slices the entire orchestra to pieces. After more chaos, like the kid eating Murderface's Civil War-era boots, they decide fatherhood isn't for them. So, as if he were a wild animal, they release the boy back into nature. The kid barely says goodbye before he's attacked by an animal. Problem solved, Dethklok style. Episode 11 opens with Squisgar filming the most brutal music video of all time. He's soloing on top of lava-spewing mountains, dodging dragons, and shooting laser beams from his guitar. But wait, cutscene, and we see it's all just a green screen shoot gone horribly wrong, with the entire crew getting maimed. The band watches a cheesy commercial for some guy named Sergio, a guitarist selling a guitar so durable you can stand on it. Seeing this, Toki has a brilliant idea. Squisgar should do his own guitar special on TV. Obsessed, Squisgar decides to create the most brutal special in history, and designs a line of custom guitars. There's the Swiss Army Tar, which is a giant Swiss Army knife, one with an ant farm inside, the Excalibur, which is a sword, and, to top it all off, one made from the wood of Christ's cross. The rest of the band gets jealous and demands their own endorsement deals. Soon, everyone is selling something. Toki has his own line of candy, Nathan launches Explosion Sauce, Murderface creates Murder Knobs doorknobs, and Pickles, lacking creativity, endorses Nickels. The pressure of the TV special drives Squisgar nuts. He fights with the director because he wants real dragons and is forced to take out a multi-million-dollar insurance policy on his hands, requiring him to wear bizarre aquarium-like protectors over them. To make matters worse, the rest of the band decides the show needs more Zaz, a touch of sparkle and glam. Just before going on stage, chaos erupts. Squisgar can't get the aquariums off his hands. The solution? Use Nathan's barbecue sauce as lubricant. It works, but there's a catch. The sauce has cilantro, and Squisgar is allergic. His hands and face swell up grotesquely. With nothing else to do, the other members take the stage and turn the guitar special into a series of cheesy commercials for their own products.
Doorknobs for a new world.
I'm Pickles the drummer, and our country is experiencing a horrible...
The night ends with a completely disfigured Squisgar, barely able to speak, as the audience watches in confusion. Sometime later, Dethklok returns from a shopping spree, and the consumer's remorse hits hard. They decide to throw everything away because in the end, everyone's going to die. Nathan takes this to the extreme, buying dozens of watches just to smash them. The vibe changes when Murderface shows up with a diamond-encrusted cod that looks more like a medieval weapon, and he's acting like he's the king of the world. Not to be outdone, Toki reveals his, which is basically a pixelated green object. The awkward silence is broken by their manager, who informs them about the annual employee conference. The manager drops a bomb. An employee is stealing from the company. Nathan thinks the idea is awesome until he finds out they're being stolen from. Meanwhile, a secret agency, like the Men in Black of Metal, decides to send an undercover agent to take down the band during the conference.
Gentlemen, I give you number 216. He's a master at infiltration and sabotage, and of course he's a trained killer.
Back at the base, Dethklok is conducting employee evaluations with nonsensical questions they wrote themselves. The secret agent, disguised as a cloaketeer, is one of the interviewees. Nathan, with his genius-level intellect, asks him point-blank if he's the thief. The agent says no, and Nathan just believes him.
Are you the guy who's embezzling from us? No. Okay.
At the conference, a motivational speaker accidentally hangs himself with his microphone cord. Then, they screen bizarre corporate videos teaching employees not to wear too much cologne and to ring a bell whenever they find a corpse. It's time for the raffle, and the winner is the secret agent. A dwarf cloaketeer thinks he's the winner and attacks the wheel agent. At the agent's Viking funeral, the manager reveals the truth. The real thieves were the members of Dethklok themselves, who were spending company money without realizing it was their own. The solution? Blame the dead guy. And so, another normal day ends for the biggest band in the world. In episode 13, a Dethklok show is underway, and it's as brutal as ever. But suddenly, the gig turns into a Hitchcock movie, with evil crows attacking the crowd. The band members are annihilated in the most absurd ways possible. A year later, we find Nathan, the frontman, working at Dimmu Burger, and the guy looks like he's had a lobotomy. He can't even take a simple order and ends up being humiliated by a fan. The customer asks if he didn't have a plan B after the band was killed by birds, and Nathan admits he never even finished high school. The manager confirms he's a complete idiot. The humiliation continues with a blast of ketchup to the face. To clean himself off, he dunks his head in the deep fryer, but it was all just a messed up dream. Nathan wakes up to find the whole band is alive. He tells them about the dream and confesses that he feels stupid. The band tries to cheer him up with flawless logic. How can you be dumb? You're famous and a billionaire. But Nathan is determined. He's going to get his high school diploma to stop the nightmares. Meanwhile, an evil council like the Illuminati panics. If Nathan, the hero of the ignorant, gets smarter, it could be dangerous for the world order. Nathan's journey begins in a library, where he struggles with basic math. The day of the test arrives, and to deal with his anxiety, he gets wasted. The result is exactly what you'd expect. He got a 0. He didn't answer a single question. Nevertheless, he has to give a graduation speech at Harvard. There, he throws away his paper and speaks from the heart, telling everyone they're a bunch of suckers who are going to move back in with their parents. But he reminds them that they all have one thing in common: death. He points to the graduates one by one, telling them they're going to die. His speech ends with his message of hope: go forth and die.
My message to you, very simple message. Go forth. Go forth and die!
In episode 14, Dethklok is having an existential crisis. On stage, instead of playing, they just stand there, breathing deeply, with a totally depressing vibe. The media is already speculating it's the end of the band. Then an old blues musician, Mashed Potato Johnson, sees the news and gets it. They've got the blues sadness. He breaks into the band's fortress, Mordhaus, and offers to help. Meanwhile, a secret organization, like the Men in Black of metal, discusses the band's celebrity depression. An expert explains that both metal and blues are cursed and linked to the devil. They decide to let Mashed Potato do his thing just to see the chaos that ensues. Mashed Potato takes the band to Mississippi, the birthplace of the blues. But the tour is bizarre. He shows them places where murders, betrayals, and brutal deaths happened, all involving trains and all turned into songs. The attempt to teach them the blues is a disaster. They can't insult each other properly, and the guitarists are physically incapable of playing slowly. It's just shredding all the time. The solution is to tie cinder blocks to their feet. The final plan is to sell their souls to the devil. But when Satan appears, Dethklok, instead of being scared, starts negotiating the contract like it's a record deal, arguing over clauses and percentages.
Well, that's gonna have to be rewritten. I'm seeing other revisions too, page 7.
Advance not recoupable of all and or any monies considered and or
0.8%.
The devil gets fed up and says he'll think about it, leaving the band hanging. Even more depressed, they crash a peace and love festival. Nathan announces that the band is in a horrible depression and that they're starting to like it. The result is a song so brutal and depressing that it summons tornadoes and causes a total bloodbath, killing all the hippies in creative and violent ways. In the end, the devil watches the scene from a distance, looking impressed by the destruction. Sometime later, Dethklok is getting wasted at a bar, and the owner is desperate for them to leave. In response, the band starts trashing the place and throwing bottles at him. Outside, they hop on their bionic motorcycles and hit the road. The bassist, Murderface, decides it's a good idea to stand up on his moving bike, but ends up smashing face first into a sign. The result is a disgusting scene, with his face getting ground off on the asphalt. At the hospital, the band brings him bizarre gifts, including fighting fish that kill each other on the spot. After this near-death experience, Murderface decides he needs a spiritual epiphany and resolves to find a religion. Meanwhile, a secret council discusses the danger of a celebrity becoming religious, recalling what happened with Tom Cruise. They fear Murderface's influence could become a global threat. The band then embarks on a journey to find the perfect religion. They start with a Christian rock concert, which is so bad that Toki starts a mosh pit and begins wrecking everyone. Next, they go to an atheist church where a fight breaks out with a group of agnostics. Finally, a satanic mass. It seems promising, but the priest spends the whole time making announcements about trash and parking, completely killing the mood. Fed up, Murderface stands up in the middle of the ceremony and asks where the nearest bar is. And that's where he finds his true calling, back at the bar, yelling and drinking with his band. His search for a higher purpose ends exactly where it began. In episode 16, the Dethklok Minute is on the air, updating fans on the band's activities. Nathan is set to record Shakespeare for $1 billion. Squisgar is hunting for chicks. Murderface is launching his side project, Planet Piss. And Pickles is going to drink himself into a stupor to prove he's not a poser. The only one left out is Toki, who's pissed about being ignored. To make things worse, he's about to receive an award that's actually a prank. The guy gets slimed with green goo in true 90s Nickelodeon style. He blurts out, "I hate children," and the controversy begins. A secret agency goes on high alert over Toki's popularity with kids. A bizarre expert explains that a generation raised on metal would be the apocalypse, far worse than the hippies of the 60s. That's when the Wish for Something Foundation appears, wanting Toki as their spokesperson, since a terminally ill fan's dying wish is to meet him. Toki freaks out. He refuses, saying he's sick of being the cute one in the band while the others get to be degenerates. Determined to change his image, he transforms his room into a horror movie set and becomes a demon, complete with fake blood and spikes. The sick little girl sends him a DVD. In the video, she's in an all-pink room, but the song she's playing is about hate and murder. Totally brutal. Toki is moved and has a psychedelic trip where the two of them fly through a world of candy while Pickles floats by in his underwear. With a softened heart, Toki rushes to apologize. He finds the girl and tells her he now has all the time in the world for her. But then comes the plot twist. The girl is already dead and her eyes are full of maggots. She still whispers, "I did it for you." Toki panics, and the episode ends with his horrified scream. Episode 17 kicks off with pure chaos. Toki, Dethklok's guitarist, is hanging out with a clown named Dr. Roxo. The two are causing mayhem all over town, firing a gun and destroying everything in their path. Meanwhile, the rest of the band is passed out drunk at the mansion. When they wake up, they're furious with Toki for hanging out with a clown without telling them. Their concern isn't about the law, but about the possibility that Toki might have hurt his fingers and can't play anymore. Toki tries to defend his friend, saying the clown makes him laugh. The band isn't having it and sends their hooded henchmen to beat the crap out of Dr. Roxo.
Walk home, clown.
Meanwhile, a secret organization called the Tribunal is watching everything. They identify the maniac as Dr. Roxo, the rock and roll clown, and the only thing they know about him is he does cocaine. The Tribunal decides he's the perfect asset to infiltrate Dethklok. Back at the mansion, Dr. Roxo shows up again, invited by Toki. The band is furious, but eventually lets him stay. The Tribunal then seizes the opportunity. They recruit the clown, place a hidden camera in his hat, and send him back to spy on the band. Roxo's first mission is to show them his music video, which is basically a psychedelic trip about cocaine, complete with close-ups of his ass. The band, of course, hates it. Shortly after, the clown starts snooping around the house, but his career as a spy is short-lived. He finds a vault, but instead of grabbing any intel, he finds another weapon and just makes a run for it. In episode 18, Dethklok is performing in what looks like a 90s music video, all in black and white, with giant monsters and their usual brutality. Right after the show, the crowd is ecstatic, especially the female fans. The frontman, Nathan Explosion, grabs the mic and, with the subtlety of an elephant in a china shop, announces he has a girlfriend.
I have a girlfriend now.
The female audience, which was ready for anything, erupts in collective despair. Backstage, the rest of the band is in heaven with the groupies, but Nathan shows up with his new girlfriend, Rebecca. The girl is controlling and already takes him to meet her parents. Nathan, the dot of metal, shows up in a pink polo shirt, completely domesticated, carrying furniture while her family stares at him with contempt. Meanwhile, the secret council discusses the danger of the couple, Becca. They conclude that their union is a global threat that distracts the world's attention. The plan to break them up up? Use the greatest male weakness, libido. The band goes nuts over the invitation to host the event, but Nathan is on a leash, getting an earful from Rebecca over the phone. The guys realize the relationship is destroying him and the band, tired of seeing their friend turned into a doormat. The members of Dethklok solve the problem in the most metal way possible. They kidnap Nathan, tie him up, and torture him until he admits he hates his girlfriend. A true shock therapy session. After the therapy, Nathan goes to break up with her, but before he can say a word, Rebecca slips on a staircase and tumbles down for about 5 minutes in a fall worthy of a Three Stooges movie, ending up in a coma.
Oh, I'm okay.
At the hospital, Nathan has an epiphany. With his girlfriend in a coma, she can no longer complain. He calls her the perfect girlfriend and decides that, after all, he can go to the porn awards. Problem solved. Episode 19 opens with a parody of a sitcom called Dating Penelope. It's the classic story of an overprotective father who doesn't want his daughter to date. The suitor knocks on the door, and it's none other than Murderface, holding a mangled dog. The maid sees the scene and just stares at the camera. Then the Metalocalypse theme song kicks in. After the brutal opening, we learn that a secret government agency is keeping an eye on the band. The concern this time is that Dethklok has decided to become actors. An expert explains that their charisma could awaken the public's imagination, causing movies to become intelligent again and people harder to control. A true cultural apocalypse. The band is filming a movie called Blood Ocean, with a budget that could buy a small country. The studio head, Mr. Grishnak, is on the verge of a breakdown over the costs. On set, chaos reigns. No one can understand a word Squisgar says with his bizarre accent. The director tries to offer some guidance, but Pickles informs him that their contract forbids anyone from directing the band. The result? Fired.
I'm afraid you can't do that. If you read our contract, you'll realize that you can't direct notable berators because it sickens us. You're fired.
Whoa.
The next day, the newspaper headline reads, "Director commits suicide." To try and save the production, they hire a legendary actor, but Pickles ends up impaling the guy with a forklift live on TV, in an accident that turns into a gushing fountain of blood. The movie is finally finished, and the trailer is a nonsensical mess of space Vikings, serial killers, and cowboys. The band, of course, thinks it's genius. At the premiere, the audience is in shock at how bad it is.
My planet is in search of blood. It would have to be a whole ocean of blood.
What's the hell Stennin's house us out?
And Dethklok finally realizes the movie is a complete piece of crap. The studio head, Grishnak, shows up furious. He says he's going to release the film anyway to recoup the money, even if it destroys their careers. He calls the masterpiece a $500 million shit sandwich and tells everyone to smile and pretend they liked it. The launch party takes place on an oil rig, which explodes after a helicopter crashes into it. The only copy of the film is destroyed, and Dethklok gets away with the fiasco. The news report: the world's greatest film has been destroyed. Problem solved. The band's manager, Charles, tries to have a serious talk about death threats, but the guys from Dethklok with the IQ of a doorknob don't understand a thing. Their big idea? The facial time travel sack, which is basically putting a plastic bag over your head to travel forward in time at the normal speed of time.
We've figured out how to travel through time at the speed of regular time with plastic bags.
The whole mess started because of their Death Water album, which was made for fish, not humans. Since the band refused to play it live, the fans were not happy and started to riot, vandalizing monuments and causing chaos. Nathan, with his infinite wisdom, gives in, but for one reason only: the money. Meanwhile, a sinister Illuminati-like group led by General Crozier is watching everything. They know the concert is going to go south, and a weird priest, Mr. Salicia, reveals that according to ancient scriptures, the band must die to prevent a metal apocalypse. Crozier, who isn't messing around, recruits a sinister masked assassin, promising him revenge for the death of his brother, who, by the way, was a monster working for the general.
I've been trying to reach you for months. You're an elusive bastard.
The only reason you found me was because I let you.
The concert begins in the middle of nowhere, in the Gulf of Danzig, with orcas in the audience and fans freezing to death. Nathan barely starts singing when all hell breaks loose. Crozier launches missiles at the stage, and the masked assassin starts slicing through the crowd. The band flees in individual escape pods and lands in a forest, more concerned with arguing about their performance than the fact they almost died. When they wake up, they come face to face with the assassin, but Charles, who seemed like just a bureaucrat, proves to be the John Wick of metal and defeats the guy in a knife fight. But then the game changes. The priest's boss shows up, a powerful old man who arrives obliterating everyone, brutally blinds Cilicia, and puts Crozier to sleep. The old man looks down at the unconscious band and promises they will meet again. In the end, the dying priest delivers the final line: the Metalocalypse has begun.
The Metalocalypse has begun.
The first episode of the second season opens with a nightmare worthy of a Cannibal Corpse album cover, but quickly cuts to reality. General Crozier, a traumatized military man, is at a doctor's appointment. He remembers nothing about his last mission or the death of his colleague, Cardinal Ravenwood, who supposedly died of a heart attack. Meanwhile, the world is in chaos without the band Dethklok. The economy has collapsed, and even the President of the United States tries to take a little trip live on TV, all because he can't get the band back together. Far from it all, the members of Dethklok are isolated in their fortress, bored and depressed. Their manager, Charles, tries to get them to work on a new album, but the band accuses him of being an emotionless robot.
You're like a robot. You're like an emotionless robot.
Yeah, he is a robot. You're a robot.
Robots are not to be trusted.
The situation gets so bizarre that they invent a pelvic thrust-powered mace belt and end up pepper spraying their own crotches. Seeing their desperation, Charles has an idea: a comeback show at a mass execution of the world's worst criminals, ensuring the band's safety. At first they refuse, but they change their minds when they find out they can choose the methods of execution. The event is a spectacle of brutality. The band plays on a giant stage equipped with drills, while prisoners are launched in rockets and exploded in mid-air like fireworks. In the midst of the chaos, Alfred Belmer, a baby killer who hates the band, leads a mass escape. The show ends in widespread carnage and the release of hundreds of dangerous criminals. Despite the disaster, the world economy recovers with Dethklok's return.
Stocks are climbing, a record turnaround for our economy, especially with a new Dethklok record on the horizon.
The episode ends with the band playing tennis, completely oblivious to the chaos they've caused. They even apologize to Charles, not for the mass breakout, but for calling him a robot. Sometime later, Toki, the rhythm guitarist, is tired of living in the shadow of Squisgar, the lead guitarist who steals the spotlight. Toki snaps, complaining that he's a musician too, and wants his space. But Squisgar scoffs at him. Toki's dissatisfaction becomes news, and the band's manager tries to resolve the situation. The rest of Dethklok, however, couldn't care less. To them, Toki does nothing useful, except maybe make a few sandwiches. Squisgar, full of himself, offers to give Toki guitar lessons, but Squisgar's lessons are more like a SWAT team drill than anything musical, complete with a bucket of blood to the head for hitting a wrong note. Fed up, Toki walks out and finds an ad for lessons with someone called Guitar Master. He goes to a dilapidated gas station and meets Selfkark, a Yoda of guitar, only way more washed up. The old man can seriously play, and Toki decides he needs to learn from him. Meanwhile, the rest of the band, led by the master of assholery, Murderface, decides to mess with Squisgar. They start praising Toki's new teacher, saying the guy is a genius, and that Toki is improving at an absurd rate. The plan works. Squisgar goes insane with jealousy and tracks Toki down. He storms the master's house, calls him garbage, and in a fit of rage, fires Toki from the band.
You can't do that! You need to present it to the band Congress first and get the 2/3 vote! I will speak.
The fight becomes a scandal. Toki decides to hold a solo recital to prove his worth, but when the moment comes, he completely freezes on stage. The only thing he can do is stammer the names of the guitar strings. In the midst of his despair, Squisgar appears in the audience and apologizes, admitting he was jealous. The rest of the band also shows up to confess their manipulation. Toki realizes his true family is these idiots.
Wowie, you really are my family.
In the end, the old master dies in Toki's arms, concluding the most bizarre guitar lesson of all time. On another day, some smartass kid is illegally downloading Dethklok MP3s. A warning pops up on the screen saying the consequences are severe, but he ignores it and clicks OK. Within seconds, an army of hooded figures, the Cloketeers, storms his house, neutralizes his parents, and kidnaps him. As it turns out, besides being the biggest band in the world, Dethklok is also the law. They have a UN-approved clause that gives them the right to hunt down and punish anyone who pirates their music, acting as a global police force. Basically, they can do whatever they want. While the fan is being tortured with loud music in a secret prison, the band is going through a creative crisis. The new album sounds like crap. According to them, it's too digital, soulless, sounds like microchips. They don't know how to fix it, and the producer is on the verge of a breakdown.
You're all f***ing deaf, you know that? You can't tell the difference between anything. Can you f***ing hear me? Can any of you f***ing hear me?
The solution to their problem comes from a secret scientific wing within the band's fortress, Mordhaus. There, a group of mad scientists has developed the ultimate recording technology, water. Yes, pure H2O, the purest analog format of all. Using a power plant fueled by coal and nuclear energy, the band records a new song. And the sound is transferred to a small vial of water. The result is perfect, with absurd clarity, and the band is finally satisfied. Meanwhile, the kidnapped kid is thrown into a cell with another prisoner, one of the Jomfru brothers, owners of a fan site who tried to blackmail the band in the past. The guy, now legless, says his brother was killed and swears revenge. Together, they manage to escape through a filthy sewer, but their freedom is short-lived. They're found by the same masked assassin from last season, proving that getting off Dethklok's radar is practically impossible. In episode 4, Dethklok is opening a coffee shop, but the band, as usual, is more interested in making fun of their own fans, calling everyone a douchebag. The boredom is so intense, they start having an existential crisis, realizing they have no friends and are stuck with each other like rats in a cage. Paranoia hits, Murderface pulls out a shotgun, and the whole thing turns into a bloodbath. Hooded figures appear out of nowhere and gun down the entire audience, while the band watches, unfazed.
I got cinnamon icing all over my hand.
Their manager, Charles, shows up with the solution to the band's problems: body doubles. To avoid more trouble and protect their image, he hired lookalikes to do the dirty work of appearing in public. Murderface is deeply offended by his double, thinking the guy is hideous, until he realizes they're identical. The mirror can be cruel. Meanwhile, a secret council reveals its plan. The lookalikes are actually their soldiers. The mission? To infiltrate a Dethklok concert at a volcano in Sumatra, get close to coffee magnate Leonard Purcell, and steal his briefcase of business secrets. Except the band gets it all wrong and becomes best friends with the doubles. They spend their time playing games and relaxing in the hot tub together. Charles has to explain that the doubles' purpose is literally to die in their place, but the band has already grown attached. The volcano concert happens, but the amount of coffee being brewed causes the volcano to erupt, spewing boiling coffee everywhere. The doubles, despite being roasted alive, manage to grab the briefcase, while the real Dethklok escapes unharmed. At the hospital, the lookalikes are completely bandaged and disfigured. The band insists on staying with them, even suggesting they burn themselves to look alike. Charles forbids the idea, so the band takes their friends out for one last meal and fires them in the most Dethklok way possible, with a point-blank shotgun blast.
You see, the thing is that...
In episode 5, Dethklok decides to enter the fashion world with a brutal event, the Dethklok Death Fashion Bloodbath. The show mixes a bizarre fashion runway with a heavy metal concert, and the result is complete chaos. Afterward, a news anchor announces that the band will launch its own clothing line, and for this mission, they've hired none other than Eric von Weiklinghammer, a designer famous for a very dark reason. He was arrested for starving 57 models to death, following his twisted philosophy of starve to perfection. The band travels to the designer's castle in Germany to try on the clothes. The problem? They don't fit. The leather and metal pieces are so tight they can barely breathe. Von Weiklinghammer appears and lays down the truth. The band is fat. He becomes enraged, accusing them of being liars since the clothes were based on their last album cover, where they were all ripped thanks to good old Photoshop. Humiliated, the members of Dethklok decide they need to lose weight, but in their own way. They ignore advice about exercise and healthy eating and come up with a ridiculous plan. Eat one giant meal a day right before bed to digest while sleeping. To trick their hunger during the day, the solution is to eat popsicles, which they think is the same as drinking water. The plan, of course, goes horribly wrong, and they all end up gaining even more weight. In the end, they return to the castle to fire the designer. Upon entering his studio, they discover the gruesome truth. The special leather used in the clothes was actually human skin. They find Von Weiklinghammer in the middle of a bloodbath, skinning models to create his collection. Completely horrified, they fire the mad designer and flee the nightmare. In episode 6, we get to know the backstory of Dr. Roxo. A behind-the-music-style documentary tells his story, from a troubled kid to the lead singer of the band, Zaz Blaniatez. The band blows up, Roxo goes nuts and says he wants to be paid in party powder. This leads to a paranoid meltdown on stage, where he accuses his bandmates of stealing his banana and sandwiches. After being kicked out, his life spirals out of control, and he becomes one of the most wanted criminals in the country. Meanwhile, Dethklok is watching it all from a hot tub. Bassist William Murderface, with a straight face, claims in the documentary that he's the band's songwriter. Nathan doesn't let it slide and exposes the lie, sparking an argument about who could have done what. The fight gets so heated that they challenge Murderface to write a single song. In the middle of this, Roxo, now a fugitive, calls Toki for help. They find him at rock bottom, and the clown admits he's not just into a little something, he basically samples the whole pharmacy like it's a buffet. Back at Mordhouse, Murderface finally presents his masterpiece, a horrible, nonsensical song about fish with tits. He gets angry and smashes his bass. The band then decides to stage an intervention to help Roxo. With the help of a therapist with robot arms, they try to show their support. The support letters, however, are a disaster. Nathan's letter boils down to, "I hate you, you should die," but Toki's sincere plea finally breaks the clown. The scene transforms into an 80s power ballad music video, with Roxo singing about his albino friend. He decides to turn himself into the police, seemingly clean and renewed, but in front of the press, his nose starts to bleed. The head of Dethklok Australia is murdered, and the band couldn't care less. Amid subpoenas and fan mail, Pickles receives a CD from his brother, Syth. The guy swears he's changed his life, quit drugs, and is now a new man. The proof? He's getting married and wants Dethklok to play at the ceremony. Pickles' reaction is pure dread. The rest of the band, of course, enjoys his misery. A secret tribunal analyzes the situation. We find out Syth is a violent criminal who's been arrested for selling fake cocaine and beating a prostitute with a brick. Their conclusion is obvious. The wedding is just a scam to get money from his famous brother. To make matters worse, a wedding expert explains that the American ceremony is a sham designed to suck people's money, patience, and souls, usually ending in murder, suicide, or at best, tolerable hatred. The band arrives in Wisconsin, and the situation is exactly as expected. Pickles' mother treats him like garbage, while Syth, in his first private moment with his brother, immediately asks for a loan. At the bachelor party, in a sleazy strip club, Syth gets wasted with his friends, two sketchy rednecks who probably cook meth in their basement. To cap off the night, he gives Pickles the gift of herpes, courtesy of two strippers who look like they walked out of a zombie movie. At the rehearsal dinner, Syth gives a victim-blaming speech, complaining that Pickles always had everything and that he now expects a huge wedding gift from the band.
My big brother got everything in life, and I got everything was gonna hand him on a silver platter.
Pickles tries to leave, but the others stop him. After all, misery is pure entertainment. At the reception, Dethklok takes the stage and plays a song called Congratulations. The lyrics literally cause all the couples to melt and merge into flesh monsters. In the end, Syth opens the band's gift, a blender. Furious, he starts cursing out Pickles, who finally snaps. The drummer gets on stage and beats his brother unconscious.
I'm gonna kill you! This is great. This is some good drama. You can't pay for that. No, you can't.
To the delight of the rest of the band, who find the scene priceless. Back at Mordhouse, the band's manager offers a solution, appoints Syth as the new head of Dethklok Australia, a dangerous position far away from everyone. Pickles accepts instantly. Episode 8 opens with Pickles on a game show called Cash-tastrophe. The premise is simple: get the question right and win $1 million. Get it wrong and be killed by a shower of money. The contestant just needs a little help from Pickles to answer which celestial body is no longer considered a planet. The drummer, in all his wisdom, answers Earth.
What's your answer?
Man, I gotta say, it's a hard question, but here's the answer, the Earth. The Earth is no longer considered a planet. Am I right?
No, I'm sorry.
The answer is obviously wrong, and the poor guy is brutally sliced to pieces by a storm of coins and bills. For Pickles' new publicist, the sinister Liz Bain, this is fantastic publicity. The rest of the band, fed up with their old publicist, decides to hire the aforementioned Liz. Little do they know, she's a former cult leader from the Order of the Dybbuk, responsible for a massacre in Paris in the 70s. Now, under the name Exodus PR, she begins to work her magic. Soon, Pickles becomes a Hollywood-level celebrity, appearing everywhere, winning awards, and becoming the most popular member of Dethklok. Jealous of the drummer's success, the rest of the band decides to start their own PR firm. The idea is to create a campaign so brutal that no one has ever seen anything like it. The plan? Build a giant metal sign with the letters PR and drop it in random places, like the bottom of the ocean, the Arctic, and even into space. The result is a $17 million loss and zero return. Meanwhile, we learn Liz's true plan: to use Pickles' fame to create a new cult, steal all the followers' money, torture them, brainwash them, and finally organize a mass suicide during a Dethklok concert, which would conveniently be hit by a comet. On the big day, with the followers already drinking the poison, the comet approaches. But in an unbelievable twist, the stupid metal sign the band launched into space collides with the comet, knocking it off course and saving everyone's lives. The most useless PR campaign in history ended up being the band's salvation. On another day, Dethklok is watching a documentary about a cannibal tribe, the Yanni Mango. Amid the jokes, Nathan drops a bombshell. He's 1/4 Yanni Mango.
So leave it. I'm 1/4 Yanni Mango.
Use a hallucinogenic drug called yopo.
The documentary talks about a hallucinogenic drug called yopo, which the tribe uses to connect with the spirit world. This piques the band's interest. Things get personal when Nathan discovers his grandmother's diary, which reveals a brutal story. After a shipwreck, her crew was eaten by the Yanni Mango, and she ended up eating her own husband in a soup.
We were shipwrecked late last night. Most of our crew was crushed by the rocks. I realized I'd eaten the soup of my beloved husband.
With this revelation, the decision is unanimous. We're going to the Amazon. Meanwhile, the Tribunal, a secret organization, grows concerned and sends General Crozier to keep an eye on the band, along with their own death squad to watch the general. While shopping for supplies, Squisgar and Toki get into their routine of copying each other, ordering increasingly bizarre items, while Murderface just wants beef jerky. The trip begins, but the Tribunal soldiers shoot down Crozier's plane. He survives and ends up in the middle of the jungle. When the river becomes too narrow, Nathan has the most insane idea of all: pull the giant boat over a mountain. It's like a Werner Herzog film, but with metal and a lot more death. After surviving the mountain, the band is captured by the Yanni Mango. Just as they're about to be killed, the tribe decides to give them yopo. Pickles is thrilled. If we're gonna die, we're gonna die high. The drug hits, and they have a collective hallucination, playing on a stage of skulls while transforming into their ancestral animal forms: an octopus, a white tiger, an eagle, a monster rabbit, and a giant crocodile. The vibe is so strong that even General Crozier, spying from a distance, gets caught in the wave and has a terrifying vision, ending the episode in pure psychedelic chaos. The governor of Florida is pissed off at Nathan's explosion and refuses to create a holiday in his honor. He calls the guy a disgrace, and Dethklok's fans, not known for their calm demeanor, handled the situation their way. By brutally murdering the governor, Charles, the band's manager, asks Nathan to calm his fans down, but the guy is more concerned with his snack and yells, "I'm eating potato chips." He even tries to talk to the press, but only makes things worse and ends up being elected governor of Florida by popular acclaim. At first, the band hates the idea because of the bureaucracy, but they soon realize the perks of power. Squisgar wants to command the old ladies. Pickles becomes ambassador to China and takes the diplomats to a whorehouse, and Murderface takes over the National Guard. The result is the apocalypse. The economy collapses because Nathan decides to print more money, crime skyrockets, and the state becomes a complete wasteland, with alligators attacking and schools on fire. To fix the mess, the band holds a benefit concert. which only serves to summon a hurricane named by Nathan Scrambles, the death dealer. The hurricane wipes out what's left of Florida, leaving a scene of total destruction. In the end, amidst the ruins, Nathan concludes that he left the state in a much better place than he found it. William Murderface is invited to play the national anthem at a NASCAR event, but instead of using his hands, he decides to play the bass solo with his ass. Meanwhile, the band watches on TV, but the broadcast is interrupted by breaking news. Toki and Squisgar are in the middle of an insane police chase. The two guitarists, completely clueless, exchange gunfire with the police until they are surrounded and arrested. In court, the story changes. A police officer explains that since it's Dethklok, the rules are different. The result? They are acquitted, but on one condition. They must get their driver's licenses and do community service. The news of the chase cuts off Murderface's solo, who becomes enraged and falls into a deep depression for being just a stupid bass player who never gets the spotlight. To solve both problems, the band's manager suggests that Murderface organize the charity event. That way, he gets the spotlight he craves, and the guitarists get out of their obligation. Nathan takes Toki and Squisgar to driving school like a concerned father, telling them to eat their lunch and not talk to strangers.
Okay, give me a call when you need me to pick you up. You guys got your phones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, eat all your lunch. Don't talk to anybody. There's weirdos out there, okay?
Yeah.
As soon as Nathan leaves, the two start competing to see who's the better driver. The argument is so intense that Toki doesn't see a car coming and ends up getting run over.
Let's go! All right! Oh, let's out! Oh, that's funny.
Dethklok launches its own coffee, Duncan Hill's Coffee, and as expected, coffee shops start mysteriously exploding. A spokesperson swears it's just a natural gas coincidence and that the coffee is perfectly safe. Meanwhile, metalhead fans are debating who's more brutal, a guy who got frostbite at a concert or another who made his sister drink motor oil for not liking the band. In the midst of it all, a kid with a patched up face plants a bomb and kaboom! A secret organization investigates the attacks. They discover the culprits are an anti-Dethklok terrorist group called the Revengeancers, led by the Jomfru brothers, former superfans of the band, and a mysterious figure in a silver mask. Their plan? Revenge. To control the damage to the band's image, manager Charles decides to build a hospital for the victims. But Dethklok couldn't care less. They complain about pandering and compassion. The real tragedy, according to them, is that frontman Nathan has caught a summer cold. The whole band agrees this is much worse than being blown up. After all, everyone's had a cold, right? Trying to cure the cold, the band ignores the doctor and turns to a book of medieval cures. First, they cover themselves in leeches. When that doesn't work, they move on to bloodletting, cutting their own arms and letting the blood drain into buckets until they pass out from weakness. After nearly dying from blood loss, the band heads to the concert at the hospital, which is packed with maimed and bandaged fans. Before taking the stage, Nathan makes a point of telling a little girl that the show is going to suck because he's not feeling well. During the performance, the Revengeancers attack. A fan throws himself in front of a sniper to save the band. The silver-masked man fights the manager, and Dethklok's hooded henchmen appear to gun everyone down, ending the party. A gossip show recaps Nathan Explosion's breakup. His ex, Rebecca, fell down the stairs, went into a coma, and is now with a billionaire. Nathan, of course, is in a major slump, playing golf in the rain and screaming in anger. The Dethklok guys try to cheer him up, but to no avail. They even tell him the hard truth. He was only in love with the girl's coma. In a super dramatic scene, Nathan decides it's time to get back out there. Meanwhile, the band discusses the news. Toki calls the ex a slut, and Murderface suddenly becomes the biggest defender of women, but the others remind him that he himself has called women venomous serpents. Murderface confesses that this hero act is just a tactic to get laid. Elsewhere, the council reveals that Nathan being single has caused chaos. And worse, a group called Sukiboso Explosion, led by Lavana Sukiboso, wants to kidnap him to create a colony of explosionites with his DNA. Nathan brings the first girl, Rachel, home. The band, who were playing Scrabble, surrounds the girl in a display of weirdness. Pickles compliments her soft hand, Squisgar calls her a porcelain doll, and Murderface threatens to crush the skull of anyone who disrespects her. Nathan gets pissed, yells at everyone, and tries to take Rachel for some alone time, but the band won't let him. In the end, the girl becomes best friends with the guys, plays games with them, and sidelines Nathan. He goes to bed alone and depressed. The next day, Nathan brings another girl, Amanda, but finds Rachel already hanging out with the band. He freaks out, calls Rachel the old one, and says he never dated her. Toki and Pickles are shocked, as they had even scheduled a Chinese cooking class with her. Nathan calls them cock-blockers and kicks them out. At the show, Lavana and her group prepare to attack. She fires a loin extractor at Nathan, but Murderface, the bassist everyone makes fun of, realizes the danger and throws himself in front, saving Nathan. The energy surges back and disintegrates the villain. Nathan is shocked and admits, "I never thought a cock-blocker could save my life." And Murderface, completely burnt, declares himself a real hero.
I never actually knew that a cockblock could save your life. Thank you, Murderface.
Okay, man, I'm a hero.
On another day, Dethklok needs to recruit new employees, and the selection process is basically a version of Squid Game, but with more metal and fighting to the death. But the band couldn't care less about that. Their manager, Charles, tries to have a serious meeting about the group's finances, but they act like spoiled children. One asks for $50,000 to buy Doritos, another is texting jokes, and they all complain that business is boring. Their logic is simple. If sitting around doing nothing saves money, then that's what they'll do. Tired of their stuffy manager, the guys decide they need someone who understands their vibe, someone who won't bother them with paperwork and will let them do whatever they want. And that's when Melmord, the new cool manager, appears. With long hair and a laid-back attitude, he's the opposite of Charles. The first proof of this comes when a health inspector visits the employee housing and finds a horror movie scene with rats, diseases, and bodies clogging the drains. While the inspector freaks out, the band thinks it's all very metal. Melmord agrees and even offers everyone a joint. With the band completely under his thumb, Melmord seizes the opportunity. He convinces them that having two managers is confusing and it would be better if only he were in charge. The guys obviously agree immediately. What they don't know is that Melmord had them all sign a contract transferring total control of the band to him. Charles realizes the ploy and confronts the new manager. What starts as a tense conversation soon turns into an epic sword duel, showing that the stuffy manager is actually a hell of a swordsman. In episode 15, Dethklok is in the middle of nowhere, having fun with explosions and catapults, until Toki gets a call. The news is heavy. His father is dying of cancer. The mood turns tense. Squisgar tries to cheer his friend up, but ends up getting depressed too. The others, as usual, don't give a damn. Despite the manager insisting they need to focus on the new album, the band decides to go to Norway to offer moral support. Meanwhile, a secret organization discusses the case. A crazy psychologist claims that Toki is like an angel of death who will bring about the apocalypse, but no one takes him very seriously. Upon arrival, the band is more interested in shopping than visiting the dying man. Toki stalls as much as he can, taking the guys to a black metal record store and then out for cake. The trip turns into a disappointment when they discover that Norway is peaceful and has a very low homicide rate, not brutal at all. Toki finally faces his father's house and has a flashback to his difficult childhood. There's even an emotional musical moment in the snow. Complete with bunnies and hallucinations. He picks up his father to grant his last wish, to see the house where he was born, on top of a mountain. It's an epic journey, with Toki carrying the old man up the mountain. In the moment of farewell, as Toki forgives his father for everything, he accidentally drops the old man, who falls into a frozen lake and becomes a human popsicle. In the end, the band is no help at all and even makes fun of the situation, showing their usual total lack of empathy. Pickles' old band, Snakes and Barrels, a sort of generic Guns N' Roses, is back. The problem? They're back without Pickles and are now completely sober. The new singer, Ricky Kicks, got the guys off drugs at his rehab center, and now they're playing at a sober-only festival. Dethklok watches it all on TV and Pickles is pissed. He goes to confront the band's lawyer, Charles. In a rage, Pickles smashes a lamp, and Charles, with the utmost calm, asks him to break the cheaper ones from IKEA. To make matters worse, he finds out he doesn't own the band's name and even has a restraining order against him. Meanwhile, Murderface interrupts everything to ask about the rights to his side band, Planet Piss. The meeting descends into chaos, with everyone smashing lamps. Seeing the drama, the rest of Dethklok shows up, worried about who owns their name. Charles confirms that they do, and the band is relieved. Furious about the situation, Pickles decides he's going to the Snakes and and barrels show to confront them. Cut to the tribunal. They reveal an old plan to control snakes and barrels with a sinister drug called Totally Awesome Sweet Alabama Liquid Snake. The plan failed with Pickles due to his high tolerance, but it worked on the rest of the band, leaving them as blank slates. The problem is that the first person they encountered was Ricky Kicks, who reprogrammed them for sobriety. The drug has a bizarre side effect. With the stimulus of a rock show, lights, loud music, pyrotechnics, blue phosphorus snakes will emerge from all of the band members' orifices, driving them mad with rage. The sober show is the perfect trigger for disaster. Meanwhile, Ricky Kicks reveals himself as the true villain of the story. He hates sobriety but can no longer use drugs due to health and legal issues. His plan is simple. If he has to be sober, the whole world will be too. To protect his secret, he erases his assistant, literally. The world is on the brink of chaos, awaiting the new Dethklok album. The situation is so tense that fans are threatening to detonate a nuclear bomb if the band doesn't deliver the goods soon. Meanwhile, in the studio, the mood isn't great. Pickles is struggling to record the drums, but the rest of the band is more interested in eating French toast and offering useless advice. The constant interruptions drive the drummer completely insane. The problems continue. Guitarist Squisgar can't record either because his guitar has a weird buzzing sound.
It stops buzzings once I gives it to this guy.
No more buzz, huh? Do me a favor, just touch it, okay?
After several bizarre tests, the producer discovers the problem is the floor. The solution? Record the solo while jumping out of a helicopter. Yes, you read that right. Meanwhile, Nathan, the vocalist, has writer's block and only finds inspiration when a suit of medieval armor arrives in the mail.
My lord, a very large package has arrived for you from England.
Okay. Wait, where in England?
I believe the return address said Camelot, my lord.
Oh, good!
But when it's time to sing, the armor makes so much noise it ruins everything. Excluded from the creative process, Murderface and Toki have an idea they think is brilliant. Write a song about taking it easy. Back in the main studio, Squisgar's solo turns out amazing. But Toki accidentally hits the wrong button and erases the whole thing. The tragedy is complete. With no other option, the band is forced to listen to the duo's song. The sound is a mix of dad rock and elevator music, and the music video shows historical disasters with a relax, it's all good vibe. The band obviously hates it. Murderface freaks out, cusses everyone out, and threatens to throw a basket of hot towels at Toki. Dethklok is back, and the world is in chaos over the release of their new album. But while the planet collapses, the band is busy with something far more important. Squisgar and Toki are mesmerized by an internet video of a guy who can, let's just say, achieve the unachievable on his own. This sparks a deep philosophical debate. If they could do the same, what would be the purpose of life?
If I could does that,
Right, I mean, why would
I be
you,
in a
why
fucking
would you?
band?
Good point. I mean, that's the whole point of all this, right?
Why is even picks up the guitars again?
Just think about that, guys.
The band, everything. Meanwhile, the band's management, the Cloketeers, are busy with other things. Murderface, the new self-proclaimed band fire marshal, tries to conduct a fire drill, but no one gives a damn. He gets pissed off and resigns, genuinely disappointed that everyone died in his drill. The obsession with flexibility is so great that, in a serious meeting about the album launch, the band decides to hire a yoga instructor. The reason? To reach things. The meeting is a failure, with Nathan showing off a new vocal skill and Pickles imitating a trumpet. In parallel, a secret organization known as the Tribunal discusses the threat of the Revengeancers, a rival group using Dethklok's music for brainwashing and planning an attack with a sonic weapon. General Crozier vows to stop them, unaware that he himself is being manipulated by a dark entity. Dethklok's attempt to become more flexible goes completely wrong. Squisgar, Pickles, Nathan, and Murderface all end up injured, but the worst of it is Toki, who overdoes it on the vodka, falls down the stairs, and passes out in the shower. The other members find him, but, following the band's pact not to meddle in each other's personal lives, decide to just talk crap about him, until Nathan, breaking protocol, finally carries him out. With the entire band broken from their quest for ultimate flexibility, they head to the new album's launch concert. All signs point to it going very, very wrong. Years ago, the band Dethklok is about to sign a contract with Crystal Mountain Records. The meeting is interrupted by the owner's spoiled son, Damien, who curses out the band and gets a punch in the face from vocalist Nathan. The kid swears revenge. The band's manager, Charles, uses the moment to lecture them, warning them to always read their contracts before he kicks the bucket. Cut to the present. The band's fortress, Mordhouse, is under construction, and the guys are managing it on their own. And, as expected, it's a total disaster. They blow billions on useless projects, like Scream-activated lighting, a solid ruby metronome, and furniture made from endangered species. The money runs out fast, and the paychecks for their employees, the Cloketeers, start bouncing. And who shows up to make things worse? Damien, who is now the head of the record label. He freezes the band's funds and threatens to cancel the most expensive concert of all time, their only chance to get out of debt. His condition for not canceling is that they sign a new, obviously terrible contract. Unable to understand the legalese, the band seeks help at a record store, but the employees are more useless than a fork for soup. With no money, the band members become construction workers, and their employees turn to crime. At the last second, just as they're about to sign their souls away, a mysterious figure appears. It's Charles. He faked his own death, knocks out Damien, and warns them that a much bigger conflict is brewing. But for now, the show must go on. The concert begins as Charles, from a helicopter, promises to explain everything later. After Dethklok bails on a charity concert, bassist William Murderface goes on a TV show to defend the band. The interview turns into a complete fiasco, ending with him flashing his privates on live television for everyone to see. The public backlash is immediate: protests and widespread hatred. Their manager Charles explains the incredibly expensive and violent process of covering up the incident, which involves kidnapping, reprogramming, and relocating everyone who was on the show. It's basically a Men in Black style operation. To clean up their image, Charles sends them to Ibiza to shoot a gum commercial. The result is the cheesiest thing in the universe, with the band riding jet skis and posing in the snow with models. At the premiere, a fan throws a drink at Nathan and calls them sellouts. The reality hits them. They've lost their edge. To reconnect with their roots, Charles unbans all Dethklok cover bands worldwide. After dismissing several, they find one called Thunderhorse and discover that their own guitarist, Toki, has been secretly playing with them. The rest of Dethklok decides to join Thunderhorse, firing the other members to get back to basics. However, they quickly discover that the garage band life is hell. No money, and having to set up their own equipment, they land a gig at an ice skating rink, but the performance causes a bizarre accident where a giant vat of spaghetti falls and kills part of the audience. Defeated and starving, they give up on the experiment and return to their life of luxury. To top it all off, the news announces that the original Thunderhorse band has been hired for the charity show Dethklok canceled. The band Dethklok performs a charity concert in Egypt to help neuter pets. During the show, they activate a Megadeth bass boost, and the sound vibrations are so extreme that the Great Sphinx and the pyramids crumble, nearly killing the band and the entire audience. Traumatized by the near-death experience, they meet with their manager Charles and decide to replace the word die with the euphemism hamburger time. Charles suggests they all get a medical checkup to calm their nerves. The band agrees, but only after a week-long health vacation to prepare. Instead of relaxing, the band spends a week on a bender of total destruction in the Cayman Islands. They return for their physicals in deplorable shape. Worried they won't pass the drug tests, they come up with the brilliant idea of drinking bleach to clean out their systems. After drinking the poison, vocalist Nathan has a horrible nightmare where his teeth rot and fall out. Terrified, he goes to the dentist but is so scared of the guy, who seems like a potential suicide risk, that he refuses the laughing gas. Meanwhile, bassist Murderface has a gay panic attack during his hernia exam.
I mean, no! Bad dick! Bad penis! The fucking super gay dick! Ah, he's a dude!
Okay, you can put your pants back on.
The results come in, and the doctor informs the drummer, Pickles, that he is dying. As the world mourns his impending death, a secret council called the Tribunal prepares a tribute video. In the middle of planning his own funeral, Pickles gives a final speech, advising the band to drink themselves into a blackout more often to forget the pain of life. However, Charles gets a call with the truth. The band members swapped their urine samples. The guitarist, Toki, swapped his with his cat's. The one who's actually dying is the cat. Toki mourns the loss of his pet, which then descends to a psychedelic cat heaven. A news report announces that Dr. Roxo, the rock and roll clown, has been arrested for robbing a homeless shelter. Typical. Toki gets pissed and tells the band he has cut ties with Roxo for good, even attending support meetings like Al-Anon to stop being a codependent. Shortly after, Nathan receives a video message from his mother, who lays on some classic mom guilt before announcing that they're all coming for Christmas. The band panics, but it's too late. The moms show up at Mord House instantly. Meanwhile, Murderface remembers he has a meeting with a producer to pitch a Christmas special. The rest of Dethklok makes fun of him, reminding him of his past failures, like a car wash that destroyed cars and a cologne that caused permanent skin irritation. Fed up with the band's negativity and the presence of their mothers, Toki leaves to do some Christmas shopping. At the same time, Dr. Roxo is released from jail and gets a job as a mall Santa. When Toki goes to sit on Santa's lap, he's shocked to see it's Roxo under the costume. Back at Mord House, Murderface secures funding for his special from the Christian church, on the condition that it's a family-friendly program. Dethklok agrees to participate just to escape their mothers, who have already redecorated the house and are driving everyone crazy. The William Murderface Christmas special goes on air. During the show, the mothers, desperate for alcohol, smash through a locked door. On stage, a giant wooden cross falls and pins Toki. The program descends into total chaos. Dr. Roxo gets a favor from Squisgar's mom, and Murderface is attacked by the priest for ruining everything. Dethklok's legendary guitarist, Squisgar, is sued by thousands of women, claiming he is the father of their children. The band's manager, Charles, reveals the case was dismissed because all groupies are required to sign a paternity waiver beforehand. A news report speculates this is related to the fact that Squisgar never knew his own father. Goaded by his manager, Squisgar decides he will find his real dad. The rest of Dethklok couldn't care less, as their fathers are either dead or were abusive. Murderface suddenly tries to become a father figure to Squisgar, which makes Pickles and Toki jealous. After a fruitless worldwide search, Squisgar gives up and decides to quit the band and return to Sweden. That's when his mother calls to say she has found his father. However, when he gets there, he discovers she has just found a new stepfather. Squisgar is disgusted by their public displays of affection. He flees into the frozen forest and has an epiphany, remembering when he was a child and found a guitar in an ice cave after running away from his mother's promiscuity. He realizes he is not a normal man, but a god. He returns to Dethklok just as they arrive in Sweden to get him, declares his divinity, and they play an epic show. After a show in Tokyo, Dethklok's rhythm guitarist Toki is kidnapped and threatened, but it all turns out to be a birthday prank by his bandmates. Upset by the prank and the women they hired for him, Toki vents to the drummer, Pickles, that he wants to find a real woman to marry and have kids with. A news report shows a line of women wanting a chance with Toki. He asks the band for dating advice, but they only suggest cheap and disgusting pickup lines. Murderface, annoyed by a comedian who mocked his inability to attract women, makes a bet with Squisgar to see who can sleep with more people. Disgusted by everything, Toki leaves to find a dating agency. He goes to E-Ladymates, an agency that guarantees a life partner. Murderface follows him and disrupts the meeting, but is thrown out. Toki explains he wants a pure, good-hearted woman, regardless of her appearance. The agency finds him a match, and Toki goes on a date with a woman named Caroline. After the super awkward date, she hands him a fertility chart, informing him they will have sex on her most fertile day to have a child. Horrified, Toki shows a picture of Caroline to Nathan and Pickles, who are grossed out. On the designated night, Toki goes to Caroline's hotel room. His little friend literally speaks to him, warning that sleeping with her will lead to a miserable life.
You have sex with that woman, you'll be miserable forever.
Heeding his inner wisdom, Toki tells Caroline he can't do it and escapes by jumping out the window. Meanwhile, Murderface falls into a trap set by the agency and gets a brutal beating. In a post-credits scene, Murderface, in a wheelchair, admits he lost the bet and didn't sleep with anyone, while Toki appears happy, surrounded by women. Here we see two members of Dethklok, William Murderface and Toki, suing the rest of the band for a share of the songwriting royalties. In court, Murderface demands the money be split 5 ways, but Toki accidentally blurts out that neither of them writes anything, essentially tanking their own lawsuit. The band's manager, Charles, explains that although they don't have songwriting credits, they get 2% of album sales, which already makes them multi-billionaires. The judge obviously dismisses the case. Afterward, the mood in the band's van is so tense that Nathan Explosion just kicks Murderface out onto the side of the road. To try and get credit on the next album, Murderface and Toki attempt to collaborate by repeating everything the others say during the writing process, which, of course, amounts to nothing. nothing. Later, at a winery in France, the other three kick them out of the band. Charles places the duo on a 1-month musical suspension. To make some cash, Murderface and Toki become judges on a talent show and discover a rap rock band called Get Thee Hence. They decide to create their own label, Murder Tooth Records, and sign the guys. However, a lawyer reveals that the contract, which Toki filled out in Norwegian, is worthless, and now the lawyer owns all the rights. Get Thee Hence opens for Dethklok and gets brutally beaten on stage. Meanwhile, the rest of Dethklok finds that their new songs are too happy and productive without the duo's negativity, so they delete all 47 tracks they wrote and decide to take Murderface and Toki back. Dethklok's drummer, Pickles, gets a new flying drum kit. During a show, the equipment malfunctions and sends him on an out-of-control flight around the world, causing billions in damages. The band's manager, Charles, reveals that Pickles was drunk, and to avoid legal trouble, the band decides to send him to rehab, leaving him in shock. With Pickles gone, Charles introduces a temporary replacement, a highly advanced robot drummer, the X2P-1158. The band is impressed, especially when an instructional video warns that the robot has a self-destruct mechanism and could become self-aware. Meanwhile, Pickles suffers in rehab, causing chaos until he has a revelation. His drinking stems from a childhood trauma caused by his brother Syth. To recover, he needs to forgive his brother. The robot drummer, on the other hand, develops a severe addiction to drugs and alcohol. A sober Pickles returns, only to find he's been replaced. Charles says that to rejoin the band for their next show in Australia, he must fly there and forgive his brother. Pickles reluctantly agrees and finds Syth, who demands $5 million for his forgiveness. Backstage, the band decides to fire the addicted robot. The machine overhears the conversation, kidnaps the band, and activates its self-destruct sequence. Locked in a room with a table full of booze, Pickles decides to get wasted to save his bandmates. He uses his flying drum kit to fight the robot, deactivating it seconds before the explosion. The band praises him for saving their lives while completely drunk and welcomes him back. After a flashback showing the drug-fueled downfall of the 80s glam rock band Zaz Blaniatez, we see its lead singer, the rock and roll clown Dr. Roxo, in jail. Dethklok's guitarist, Toki, bails him out, determined to reunite Zaz Blaniatez to help Roxo reclaim his former glory. At a Dethklok meeting, manager Charles reveals that Toki used the band's entire vacation fund, meant for a multi-country Disney trip, to finance this reunion. The rest of the band is furious. Toki promises the money will be returned if the show is a success. Nathan Explosion recalls several of Roxo's failed reunion attempts. Worried about Toki's obsession with the clown, the band forces him to see a therapist, Dr. Twink Letitz. During a hypnosis session, a flashback reveals Toki's traumatic childhood of forced labor, where his only friend was a clown-shaped scarecrow he named Dr. Roxo.
I had friends with me. A friend who listens to me and keeps me safe. As long as my friends was there, nobody's could hurt me.
Meanwhile, a news report shows that ticket sales for the reunion are abysmal. Dethklok decides to take over promotion to save their vacation, launching a massive marketing campaign. During a live interview to boost sales, the host confronts Dr. Roxo about his past affair with a 14-year-old girl named Dory McLean, which led to the original band's breakup. The revelation causes Roxo to have a breakdown and flee. The band finds him in a crack den, and to convince him to perform, they tell him Dory will be at the show. The concert is a success. Backstage, Murderface reveals he sold out the show, but instead of cash, he was paid with a bag full of commemorative coins. The sight of the coins triggers Toki's phobia, causing him to pass out and start a fire that melts the plastic stage, trapping the audience. Amid the chaos, the band introduces Dr. Roxo to the adult Dory McLean, now an overweight, middle-aged woman. Roxo is disgusted until he meets her daughter Chastity and is instantly smitten. Dethklok's tour begins with the guys complaining about the healthy food their manager Charles has provided. It's like a reality show scene, with rock stars throwing a fit because there are no chips. The bus stops at a gas station in the middle of Canada for the crew to buy junk food, and when they return, the bus is gone. It just drove off and left the entire band stranded in a blizzard. Obviously, the blame falls squarely on the manager. Far away in his control center, Charles gets a chill down his spine, a strange feeling, and sends a helicopter to rescue the guys. On the flight, the band confronts him, but Charles has other priorities and cancels the weekend they were supposed to spend together to organize a show in Israel. Feeling completely snubbed, the guys decide to rebel. They fly to Syria to party with a friend and, in a drunken haze, have the brilliant idea to book a show on their own, since Charles is too busy. This creates a geopolitical nightmare, because now Dethklok has shows on the same day in Israel and Syria, two enemy nations. The conflict escalates to the point of threatening to start World War III.
You double booked a gig on the exact same day with Syria and Israel, who are bitter enemies.
Yum's pissed off because
we're fat!
And more importantly to Charles, hurting album sales. As the world teeters on the brink of collapse, the band has a meltdown over feeling neglected. Murderface gets progressively fatter and Toki starts assaulting everyone. They flee the base and Charles finds them on a fishing boat, apologizes for being absent, and makes peace.
I'm sorry I've been so busy, and I see what that's done to all of you. But I want you to know, you're all very important to me.
The solution to the global crisis? A high-tech hologram concert. At the border, with two giant stages, the holographic show takes place and unbelievably brings peace to the region. After returning from space, the metal band Dethklok announces their new album is ready. At a press conference, frontman Nathan Explosion drops a bombshell. He started a serious relationship with a fan. The rest of the band are skeptical because, let's face it, fans are synonymous with crazy, but Nathan defends his new girlfriend, Trindle, insisting she's loyal and amazing. Meanwhile, a secret organization called the Tribunal discusses the news. A romance expert explains that celebrity fan relationships are a recipe for disaster, a way to avoid real intimacy that usually ends in violence when the celebrity tries to break it off. Back at the band's headquarters, the guys grow suspicious of Trindle, who is constantly glued to her laptop. They play detective and discover she's a suspect in the disappearance of several Dethklok cover band vocalists and uses an online dating profile to lure men who look like Nathan. When confronted, Nathan refuses to believe he's being cheated on, insisting it's just her sense of humor. To prove Trindle's innocence, he and the band head to Clokacon, the annual Dethklok fan convention. There they find her exhibit, a room full of men who have undergone plastic surgery to look identical to Nathan. It's a frontman clone factory. Horrified, Nathan confronts Trindle on the roof. She confesses she's such a huge fan that she wants all of him, and reveals a bomb strapped to her chest, planning for them all to die together in a perfect explosion. To create a diversion, the band makes a smokescreen with cigarettes, and amidst the confusion, their manager Charles rescues Nathan with a helicopter, just as Trindle blows everything up. Dethklok holds a press conference for their new album. When a reporter asks if Nathan Explosion can be serious, his response, "That is doable," becomes an instant catchphrase among fans. The band realizes they forgot Toki, who arrives in the empty room with his chicken drumettes and sees on TV that he's been left behind. During the press conference, a journalist asks why most metal fans are white and if Dethklok is racist, leaving the band shocked and speechless.
One last thing. Are you racist?
With the news questioning if the band is racist, their manager Charles tells them they need to do community service. The members try to prove they aren't racist by telling stories about some guys without using any racial descriptors. Feeling left out, Toki has a musical fantasy about starting his own world with cute animals and announces the guest club for special people. The rest of the band, except for Murderface, receives an invitation via text. Toki informs Murderface he can't join because his mustache is stupid. Devastated, Murderface watches the others celebrate the new club in a hot tub. To fix their public image, Charles arranges for the opening of an urban youth center with a Dethklok concert. For the performance, Toki provides club uniforms. The band steps onto the stage wearing white robes with pointed hoods, terrifying the audience. The club's logo, a giant lowercase t, catches fire, looking like a burning cross. As the band panics, Murderface runs onto the stage, still trying to get into the club. Dethklok's new album is released in a special liquid format, with a warning that anyone caught pirating it will be arrested and tortured. During a meeting, Murderface, Toki, and Squisgar make prank calls, while Nathan complains that the album cover is too pink. In the sauna, the band discusses their vacation plans. Nathan and Pickles are going on a friender bender, a post-album drinking binge. Pickles makes Nathan promise not to drink tequila after a flashback shows him destroying a city while drunk. The Tribunal learns the album is boosting the global economy, but also also hears a report on the dangers of prank calls. Murderface pulls a prank on Toki and Squisgar, tricking them into going to a shady bar where they find a note mocking them. As revenge, the two get Murderface's credit card number and use it to buy weapons and explosives to frame him. As Nathan and Pickles plan their trip, Nathan finds a hidden bottle of tequila. A massive global storm grounds their private jet. At the airport, a SWAT team arrests Toki, Squisgar, and Murderface. The storm creates a giant whirlpool at sea, swallowing all the ships carrying the album. The only remaining copy is the Liquid Master at Mordhaus. A giant whale-like entity appears to Nathan, telling him he must destroy it.
You know what you must do. Destroy the master.
Believing it to be a sign, Nathan grabs an axe to shatter the master. Pickles tries to stop him, but the stronger Nathan overpowers him and destroys the last copy of the album. After destroying their own album, Dethklok inadvertently crashes the world economy, causing a crisis called the Death-Accession. To boost morale and revenue, the band decides to create a series of theme parks, the Death Fairs, starting in their drummer Pickles' hometown. However, the press conference turns into chaos, with an angry mob demanding jobs. Nathan Explosion, with his usual patience, tells everyone to kill themselves and storms off the stage.
If you guys are all so pissed off, why don't you collectively kill yourselves? What was I talking about? Oh, fuck this, I'm done. Fuck you.
Backstage, there's another kind of drama. Pickles' mother shows up just to tell him how disappointed she is for ruining the economy and not having a real job. To her, only people with honest careers like real estate agents deserve respect. Deeply hurt, Pickles decides to become a realtor just to win her approval. The rest of the band, of course, makes fun of his new career, which makes Pickles snap and vow to be the best of all time. His first attempts are a complete disaster, and he even ends up burning a house down. Desperate, he has a cosmic vision of his mother's giant head mocking his failure. That's when he has an epiphany. He can use his own fortune to buy the houses and then sell them, and so he does.
Hold on! Mother! The sleeper has awakened!
Pickles becomes a mega successful realtor, breaking all sales records. Meanwhile, the rest of the band builds the park, filled with deadly rides. At the grand opening, his mother appears and demands he quit real estate and go back to making music to fix the economy. Realizing she'll never be satisfied, Pickles finally tells her off and says to go fuck herself. During a Dethklok concert in Rio de Janeiro, rhythm guitarist Toki begs lead guitarist Squisgar to let him play a solo. Squisgar refuses, saying Toki never practices. After Squisgar shreds his solo and the crowd goes wild. A vengeful Toki releases a tell-all book detailing his life as the dismissed guitarist. The book becomes a bestseller, and Toki starts appearing on talk shows, whining that Squisgar made him feel like a nobody. Meanwhile, the rest of the band gets a defibrillator and, for fun, tests it on Murderface. In a secret meeting, the tribunal discusses how Toki's book could destroy the band. They also receive intel that the Revengeancers, a group of brainwashed former fans, are still active with a new leader. Toki's popularity explodes, and Squisgar's plummets. He loses all of his endorsement deals, which are immediately handed over to Toki. The final blow comes when Toki replaces him as the headliner for the Gitarganza Ice Festival in Norway. Squisgar confronts Toki, who now acts like a king, and begs for his spot back. High on his newfound fame, Toki flatly refuses. At the festival, Toki takes the stage, but when the moment comes, he freezes and can't play a note. The crowd starts booing him, and he has a panic attack, collapsing on the ice. Seeing this, Squisgar rushes to help him with the defibrillator. He repeatedly shots Toki, causing the massive ice stage to crack and collapse on the audience, killing everyone. A successful rescue, Dethklok style, with the global economy still in the ICU because of Dethklok's last album. Everyone is wondering when a new record will save the world. At a press conference, Nathan Explosion throws in the towel, saying he has writer's block. In the studio, things are grim. Nathan can't write anything, leaving producer Dick and the rest of the band, who have been recording demos for 37 days, completely frustrated. The record label summons everyone, and an executive fires Dick on the spot, blaming him for the lack of progress. The band is so deep in debt they have no say in the matter. A shadowy council known as the Tribunal decides to bring in a new producer, Abigail, a woman known as the Record Cleaner for her tough and efficient methods. Abigail arrives at Mordhaus, finds the band in a mess, and gets straight to the point, calling their creative process a joke. She says they're burned out and sends them on a mandatory vacation to find inspiration. Behind the scenes, Nathan meets with the fired Dick and tasks him with fixing fixing the old demos to get his job back and kick Abigail out. The band is forced to fly coach to a desolate country with no money or luggage. After 7 days of pure misery, they are kidnapped by soldiers and taken to the tyrannical Sultan Saladin. The Sultan, who thought they were women, intended to make them his new harem. Upon discovering they are men, he gives them an ultimatum: play a new, unreleased song on the spot, or be forced to perform oral sex on him. The band plays a song so powerful it incites the Sultan's harem to rebel and violently overthrow him. Back in the studio, Abigail listens to Dick's fixed demo, calls the work insane, but rehires him as her engineer. When he hits on her, she simply knees him in the groin. Charles, the band's manager/nanny, announces he's taking a few days off and leaves Nathan Explosion and Pickles in charge. The moment he's gone, Toki, the rhythm guitarist, drops a bomb. He's also leaving for a fantasy camp called Roxo, but he's not going as a counselor. He's going as a camper, hoping to finally make some friends. Before he leaves, Nathan, in a rare moment of sweetness, gives him a snow globe of their home, Mordhouse. While Toki is away, Nathan finds a flyer for the camp and freezes. The special guest counselor is Magnus, Dethklok's original guitarist. A quick flashback shows Magnus was a violent, controlling bandmate whom Nathan beat up and kicked out of the band, and the guy swore revenge.
Made a decision. You're not Dethklok anymore.
It clicks instantly. Toki is in danger. Nathan gathers the rest of Dethklok and they set off on a rescue mission. At the camp, Toki tries to fit in but becomes the target of a bully named Ludwig. After seeing Ludwig assault and rob another camper, Toki is chased into the woods, only to be saved by his counselor, Magnus himself. At the final performance, Ludwig and his gang attack Toki on stage, smash a cake in his face, and make fun of his diabetes. As Toki lies on the ground, Ludwig finds the snow globe and shatters it. Suddenly, the rest of Dethklok arrives. The four of them step out of the car, wearing bathrobes, and face down the bullies. Nathan picks up the shards of the snow globe, glares at Ludwig, and delivers the line, "You've made a grave mistake."
You just fucked up real bad. Tell me, which hand do you fret with?
At a band meeting, the manager announces that William Murderface is set to receive an award at the Brutalies for being the most brutally looking musician in history. The band starts debating whether it's an award or a public roast. Feeling insecure, Murderface storms out and vows to transform himself into the most handsome man in the world. The Tribunal, that shadowy council, discovers his plan and panics. They believe that if Murderface, the 0 on the beauty scale, becomes handsome, it will trigger a domino effect of insecurity in the other members, leading to grotesque plastic surgeries and the ruin of Dethklok. Murderface goes to a plastic surgeon, but after admitting he hates himself, he's given a massive bill. Since he lost all his money in a lawsuit, he takes out a loan from Nathan Explosion and travels to a cheap clinic in Mexico. 3 months later, the rest of Dethklok watches a TV show that mocks them, calling them old, ugly gargoyles. Fearing they'll become the ugliest in the band now that Murderface is supposedly a heartthrob, they rush to get their own last-minute plastic surgeries. At the awards show, Murderface arrives wearing a metal recovery helmet. He accepts the award, announcing he's no longer ugly, but beautiful, and that the rest of the world is now garbage in comparison. He removes the helmet and chaos. His face is a horribly infected and disfigured mess from the botched surgery. The audience screams in terror. Seeing his own reflection, Murderface screams and runs wild, chasing his terrified bandmates off the stage. Dethklok prepares to record their next album in a giant submarine, the Death Sub. Their manager, Charles, informs them that no women are allowed on board, much to everyone's disappointment. However, an exception is made for the new producer, Abigail, who immediately catches the band's attention. During a meeting, Nathan reveals he's been having a recurring nightmare involving some very uncomfortable situations with women. The other members react with disgust, agreeing that as famous rock stars, they should be the ones on the receiving end. A month later, the band can no longer play their instruments due to severely swollen wrists. A doctor diagnoses them with advanced carpal tunnel syndrome and orders them to abstain for 3 months, warning of severe psychological withdrawal. The furious record label head threatens to fire the band if they don't finish the album on time. The Tribunal discusses the situation, predicting that forced abstinence will lead to chaos and destruction. With sexual frustration at an all-time high, Nathan and Pickles begin competing for Abigail's attention, but she rejects all their advances, stating she she has a strict rule against workplace relationships. Enraged after hearing that Abigail is better than him, Nathan vows to do whatever it takes to win her over. On the last day of recording, the band members are sent to isolated pods, leaving Nathan and Abigail alone in the control room. As they prepare for the final vocal tracks, they kiss passionately. Immediately after, Abigail pulls away in horror and flees, leaving Nathan screaming in despair. After a benefit concert for trapped miners in Zimbabwe, the members of Dethklok are chilling backstage. That's when Toki decides to post a group photo on social media, despite everyone being against it. Their manager Charles shows up to lay down the law. They need to finalize the new album's credits and get ready for a super important dinner with the record label. The trouble starts right there, with Murderface demanding more credit than a background actor. At a formal meeting to sort this mess out, Toki is a no-show. He's out getting wasted with Dr. Roxo. Meanwhile, Murderface, dressed up in a suit to look professional, demands executive producer credits and a huge cut of the royalties. When the band refuses, he makes the most dramatic threat possible. He'll go on a hunger strike until he dies. Obviously, no one takes him seriously, and they vote against his demands. Later, at the important dinner, the tension is thicker than a brick wall. Murderface continues his hunger strike, though he's drinking heavily, while Nathan tries and fails to communicate with producer Abigail from across the massive table. The night descends into chaos when Toki and Dr. Roxo, completely drunk, crash the event. After Charles is forced to let them stay, Nathan makes a toast and publicly announces that he and Abigail are together. Pissed that Nathan is taking credit for the album, and now for Abigail, Pickles confronts him. Murderface gets in the middle, and the argument turns into a real fight between him and Pickles. After getting punched, Pickles becomes furious and says he's quitting the band, leaving everyone in stunned silence. After that epic fight, the metal band Dethklok officially breaks up. At a press conference, frontman Nathan Explosion announces the band is over and their final show will be in Reykjavik, Iceland. The news triggers a fan apocalypse worldwide, with mass riots and destruction. Each member goes their own way. William Murderface runs for Congress with Toki as his intern. Nathan and Squisgar team up with producer Dick to create a new sound. And Pickles, the drummer, retires to open his own winery. As expected, their solo lives are a complete disaster. A scandal erupts when hundreds of Murderface's private photos are leaked online, ending his political career before it even begins. Meanwhile, Pickles' grapes are grown with unlicensed metabolic hormones, and he hosts a wine tasting. The whore's blood wine makes all the guests vomit violently. After they all fail miserably, the band members reunite and, of course, start arguing. At the final show, their former manager gives a moving speech, but is brutally killed by a monstrous, glowing being who reveals himself to be Mr. Salicia.
I've been wanting to introduce myself to you for some time.
Oh my fucking god!
The band is evacuated by their security team into a giant mobile stage vehicle, which escapes across the ocean as Salicia destroys the entire concert venue. Their new manager, Charles, stands over the old manager's body, ready to tell the band about the Church of the Black Clock. Following the massacre in Iceland and the death of their manager, Roy, the members of Dethklok hide out in their submarine thinking the band is finished. But their other manager, Charles, summons them and reveals a much larger conspiracy. He explains that he was attacked by a group called the Revengeancers and killed by a superpowered half-man named Salicia, only to be revived by a secret society, the Church of the Black Clock. Now known as the Dead Man, Charles is essentially an invisible spy for Salicia. He takes the band to the church's secret headquarters, where they meet High Priest Ishnafus Metal. Metal explains that Dethklok are the saviors of a prophecy and must write one final song to stop the Metalocalypse. He also reveals that a sea beast tricked frontman Nathan Explosion into destroying the wrong record. At Roy's funeral, Nathan struggles with his eulogy but manages to apologize to his bandmate Pickles for his past actions, and the two embrace. At that moment, the ground collapses and Salicia attacks the funeral. Charles fights Masked Assassin to protect the band and wins. Suddenly, Magnus appears and stabs Toki, kidnapping both Toki and Abigail with the help of the Revengeancers. The remaining members of Dethklok realize their mission is now to find Toki and their friend Abigail.
But you're going to have to find Toki first, and Abigail.
And I'm gonna take care of these motherfuckers once and for all.
the Church of the Black Clock unleashes a chilling prophecy. Dethklok is finished, a member has been kidnapped, the Doomstar is awakening, and to top it all off, one of them must die. Basically, the apocalypse is knocking. Meanwhile, the band's ex-manager Charles is agonizing over Toki's abduction by the masked assassin and his brother Magnus. Fans worldwide are freaking out, and the public pressure is immense. But the band? At first, they're more concerned with partying and doing drugs than saving their friend. It's only when everyone else abandons them that frontman Nathan Explosion comes to his senses and decides to act. He goes public and announces, "We're going to get Toki." Then, High Priest Ishnafus steps in, basically telling them they have to solve this mess themselves. He guides them to the depths of humanity, the crappy dive bar where they played their first gig, to find a clue. Inside, things turn into a horror movie. They're attacked by ghosts from their past, like a former manager and some jilted groupies. The band has to fight their way out, facing a horde of zombie musicians. Luckily, Dr. Roxo appears out of nowhere to distract the mob, allowing them to escape. They arrive at an old rehearsal space where Toki is being held captive. As soon as they enter, the masked assassin murders Ishnafus in front of everyone and reveals that the Doomstar is embedded in his own chest. Shocked, the guys fight their way up the building, confronting their inner demons and transforming into super-powered demonic versions of themselves. They reach the top just as the assassin is about to kill Toki and Abigail. Enraged by Ishnafus's death and the threat to his bandmate, Nathan unleashes an insane wave of power to save everyone.